Shouts out Big Steve.
Shout out Michael Bisbin. UFC 106. We're gonna bet these fights, and we're gonna make some money, right? Big Brand MMA. If you don't know who I am, Big Steve, full-time bettor from Australia. Let's get it. Let's get straight into it. I've done my recap on an early tease, and now we're gonna go through this card top to bottom from a betting perspective. We're not gonna waffle too much on. I think it's not the easiest card to bet personally. A lot of narratives which I usually try and avoid, and a lot of people coming off injuries, layoffs, low-level fight, in the apex. So we'll see what we can make of it. Comments? What do we have for the comments? Local man shakes fist. Welcome. Kurt, Steve, you need to tell my wife on camera right now to let me slam ass tonight. Happy to help, Kurt. What is your wife's name? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Happy to help. Alrighty, first fight. So Luana Pinheiro, Tisha Torres. I haven't changed my opinion on this fight. I still feel like it's a dog or pass. The reason I have not locked it in is because this fight with a washed Michelle Waterson Gomez, Pinheiro went very close to her. She should have had all the power advantage, and Gomez landed a few eye-catching strikes, almost lost to the fight. But I think I'm overthinking it a little bit. My plan is still to tape this, Hebas Angela Hill fight. I'm not going to tape Jillian Robertson because I watched it before Marina Rodriguez, and I bet Tisha Torres against Esparza, and it was too close, way too close. So I think Tisha, if she wins round one, it's basically your bet is kind of done there. But yeah, it's probably going to be a split decision. So yeah, dog or pass, and then also Tisha Torres is a live bet potentially. See how Pinheiro's looking, or you might even, you could be 1-1 going into the third, like Pinheiro. Pinheiro lost round one to Jillian, but won round two. So there's a few options here. I wouldn't really play Tisha Torres by decision. There's an avenue in which I could see Tisha finishing her, right? And I don't really see Luana being the first to knock her out. Kurt Kwiatkowski, is that Cecile? All right, Cecile, you need to let Kurt slam ass tonight. That is the right thing to do. All right, you can crop that. You can crop it. Kurt, I feel like you're trolling me at this point, mate. Sup, Glimbot? Dogfather, no mention of Smashley. Yeah, so we hit Ashley Barrett in Invicta. What a ride! What a ride! Invicta FC, betting Invicta FC. I actually have really good ROI on Invicta. It's basically one bet per card. When I do bet, it usually hits. But what a ride! These women are so bad. Alrighty, Hong Yong Son Park, Carlos Hernandez. From a betting perspective, really hard to get anywhere. I feel like Park is the A side, but I'm not really impressed from what I've seen. Usually finishes, bad minute winner, gets dropped, doesn't really separate on the feet. I will say he has more power. And what's his best win? Song Guk Choi? Shannon Ross? Definitely not. I feel like Carlos keeps it competitive, but he's a really, really slim margin kind of guy. He can be hurt, he can be dropped, he can be submitted. Maybe a good live bet. Park starts very slow, consistently in his fights. So that's where I'm at from a betting perspective. Let me just open up Bet365 so I can look at some totals. Let's move on from that fight. Denise Gomez versus Elise Reed. Yeah, same as before. I'm still feeling Gomez inside the distance or pass. I'm not really parlaying her. She's not worth it. She's very plotting. She has bad IQ. She might be a little bit gassy as well. But you tape that. I lost money playing her inside the distance against Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and I refreshed, and she kind of hurt Karolina a few times and then clinched, which is the bad IQ I mentioned. But I think Karolina has a way better chin than Elise Reed. Elise Reed obviously finished in every single UFC loss. If she lost a decision to Melissa Martinez, which was a one-moment kind of fight, that would have been the first time. So yeah, this is a little bit of money is coming on the under now, so now it's even worse. Probably just go with Gomez inside the distance now, right? What do we have? Where is the stupid fight night? Here we go. Maybe minus 3.5. What's the minus 3.5 for Denise Gomez? Wow, minus 200. Disgusting. Yeah, Denise Gomez KO, $3.75. Submission, $5.50. Right, never had a sub, but tried it on Angela Hill, tried it on Carolina, tried it on that grappler girl. Maybe that may be the path. The under 2.5 plus 140, a little bit worse on Bet365. Yeah, maybe round 1 and 2. Maybe play Denise 1 and 2. Who knows? Glimbot just took fight doesn't go in Gomez fight. Just now? Where are you getting such a good line just now? Plus 135? Plus 138? That's very good. Yeah, I think that's going to be it. I overthink it a bit, but, also at least Reed slows down, so it kind of gives Gomez potential late round KO if she slows down, but, she's kind of knocked out some of these girls. Bruna, which is aging well. Like, no one else has finished Bruna since then. And Yasmin, and then, not really finished Agast, Eduardo Mora, and, Carolina Kovacevic. And then on Contender Series, she should have really finished Riani, Amanda. So that's where I'm at. Gomez inside the distance or pass. Alrighty. Luana Santos versus Tainara Lisboa. This is it. Feels like a shit show fight. Luana, 25, she has all the age and potential upside. And, she's moving up to bantamweight again. Last time she was a bantamweight, she barely beat Stephanie Edgar. She had a lot of health issues, although she missed weight. So she was clearly unfit. So she couldn't even make bantamweight. Now she's made the weight limit. She kind of looks in shape. This could still be her weight class. She's 25. She could be cutting down to featherweight, flyweight could be too much for her. But Tainara Lisboa actually looks like the much better fighter. Striking, more athletic, explosive. Seems to have a better semblance of minute winning and IQ. But I feel like she might get submitted. That's just the feeling that I get. So I'm not rushing to play Tainara. Obviously, she's had a massive knee injury. And money's coming in on Santos. Could be sharp money, could not be. So I feel like Lisboa looks better on tape. Has better attributes, better cardio, better IQ. But she still makes mistakes. Against Ravana Oliveira, against Jessica Rose Clark. She ended up on bottom against both of them. And now she's coming off a layoff. Upper weight class for Santos. Yeah, just weird stuff. This is what the card is like. Yeah. Good. Play Alberta has some decent lines that are slow to catch up. Most of you will need VPN, all right. Lisboa KO, 10-1 for the boys. Don't know about that. I do think Luana is quite durable despite her striking defense. Let me just see what Luana's submission is. Out of curiosity, that is. Luana Santos. Well, not bad. 550. When she's in shape, when she looked on, she has a KO over Miller and she has a sub over Agapova, obviously low-level women. But she ran through them, she looked really dialed in. So, you fade her here and then she might be dialed in and she might just run through this bar. What's the under? $3. Maybe. Alrighty. Conor Matthews versus Yaria Del Valle. So I mentioned on my original show early in the week, Del Valle under 2.5 rounds of plus money. It's tempting. He obviously doesn't have many finishes at all. And that's why we had a good line. And again, he didn't finish a durable guy in Contender Series, but he was very close multiple times. And, everyone's parroting how tough Conor Matthews is. But the reason I had 2,500 on Jose Delgado is because even in the fights that he's not getting finished, he reacts really weird to punches. Jair Farias hit him once and he just had the stanky leg. Obviously, had many stanky legs against Francis Marshall and then getting knocked out, but then his bazooka, that's it was a more obvious read of maybe the durability is not what we think. But yeah, just going in depth, I think I'm overthinking it a little bit. Del Valle is not a one-punch KO guy. He's more of an attritional dude, a robot that will keep on coming. And it kind of has to break Conor Matthews. So, now at minus money, I would rather just play Del Valle submission. I was really surprised by this number. So it is, let me tell you right now, I was actually shocked by this number. Now it's most likely going to be a KO. I can see, getting on top of Conor Matthews and pounding him out, or pounding him out against the cage as he's gassed. But, he has a lot more subs than KOs. He loves the guillotine. He's had a lot of people's back in a rear naked choke, and he also has an armbar from guard in one of the fights. So I'm surprised by that sub. Sub is $5 on Neds. Cool, the Bet365 doesn't work. Pisses me off. Like, why are you not opening up while I'm doing the live show? Let's go on fight odds. Kurt, what's in that coffee cup, Steve? It's only coffee, my friend, unfortunately. I wish it was something better. I'm going to go train right after this, so hopefully the caffeine is still hitting strong. All right, so, yeah, Del Valle sub. That's a good way to minimize risk. Only put maybe $100 to win 400. And, if it goes the distance, then whatever. If he gets a KO, that'll piss me off, but Del Valle submission, yeah. Well, some shitty prices. Of course, BetOnline has the shittest price. Yeah, $5 on Neds. Take a little poke there. Alrighty, Jared Gordon versus Thiago Moises. Now, money's coming in on Gordon. It makes sense. I get it. Thiago's a flake, blah, blah, blah. Gordon's going to fight for your money. It's just a tale of Gordon, you know what he's going to do. He's going to fight for your money. He's going to come on strong. He has the better cardio, better heart. Versus Thiago Moises, who's actually, I think, a more talented fighter, has better durability, better skill set, and more moments upside and more potential finish upside. Right? Jared has gone through a lot. He's a little bit war-torn. And even these fights that he's winning, like he was 1-1 going into the third against Nazareth, kind of threw away round 3, slowed down and became a little bit more hittable. Mark Madsen, he had a lot of crap in round 1, and then he knocked him out. Paddy Pimblett winning, but I guess he didn't win. So, I don't know. Thiago Moises, I actually, after in-depth tape this morning before the podcast, I actually switched. And all of a sudden now I like Thiago Moises, right? Because if he can actually grapple, he can look like the side here. Because Jared Gordon gets taken down a lot and backpacked a lot in his fights. Selecki, Dawson, he's not very physical. He's not a guy that has the best takedown defense. And I think Moises is one of the best. He took Makachev down. He made Costa look like a bum. He ran through, Giagos. Like, I do think he is the better grappler here, and he has more power and the better jiu-jitsu. But I bet him against Trey Ogden, and he didn't grapple there. He didn't shoot one takedown in 15 minutes, and luckily he still won because of calf kicks and, Trey falling apart, his leg falling apart, his bicep falling apart. So, I don't know. I'm left actually liking Moises, but after the Trey Ogden fight, I put him on the no-bet list. The guy's inconsistent. He's stupid. You don't know what he's going to do. He's going to pull guard to go for leg locks and whatnot. But from a skill set perspective, I think you're better off live betting Jared Gordon. See how the fight's playing out. See what Moises is doing. Because if Moises goes for a takedown, I think that's a backpack and 5 minutes in the hole for Moises. And then you're hoping for Jared Gordon to win rounds 2 and 3. What I actually don't mind here is the under. The under 2.5 rounds, $3.37. Like, Jared knocked out Mark Madsen, which really surprised me. No one knocked out anyone in a Nazareth Hackbrass fight, but Jared was cracking him. Right? He was cracking him. Obviously, he's been knocked out before. Yeah, it's interesting, kind of. I also think Thiago Moises could submit him, but I'm not rushing to it. Glimbot, do you think Moises gets a finish? Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it's possible. Pepe, what's up, sir? What's up, Subhuman? Gotcha. One of the good boys. All right, let's move on. Mateus Camilo, Gabe Green. Another fight that was pick him, and now a lot of money's coming Camilo. I know a lot of the boys. Some big money on Camilo. It makes sense because the line has shifted a lot. And I don't really think Gabe Green is such a bad fighter, so I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant here. I've bet on a lot of Gabe Green fights. I faded him, I think, in a parlay against Rodriguez. I bet him straight against Phil Rowe. I lost money betting Johan against him. almost got it. I lost money fading Machado Gary with him, and I just bet the under in the Brian Battle fight, which unexpected. So I don't think he's a bad fighter at all. I just think he puts himself in harm's way, and Camilo can probably drop him and do a lot of damage early. But I also think that's the kind of fight Gabe Green can win as well if he keeps on coming. Like this kid, Camilo, is not really tested. Like he actually has a decent level of opposition. Roma, Ramos, Soho, and Nabato, who I've never heard of, but he's famous because he was looking for a fight. So he's got some good level of opposition. But I don't know. He's the kid still slows down. How is he going to handle the bright lights? Gabe Green's going to come at him. My friend played the under 2.5. It came back up, and I didn't really like it initially just because they're both durable. Say what you will about Gabe Green, but some of these other fights, he looks quite durable. But now I'm coming around to it. Now I think the best thing is just to play the under. That's where I'm at. And maybe lie bet Gabe Green. Fight ends in KO, something like that. But I think this is going to be a good live bet fight. I think last time Gabe Green was a lightweight, he got knocked out back-to-back by Turner on the regionals and by some other guy that hits quite hard. So maybe the weight cut is not the best thing for him. But that's where I'm at. Alrighty. Julian Arosa, Melquizel Costa. So another interesting fight. This should be a scrap. I don't envision how this is going to be boring unless Julian comes in there the way C-Rod came in and just sniffs Melky Costa. Yeah, great fight. These guys are on a streak, 3 fight each. I don't know how I feel. I thought I would like the under, but watching how tough Costa is, how good Julian Arosa's submission defense is, never been subbed in his life. I guess we're relying on Costa KO or maybe Arosa sub. But watching Costa's submission defense against C-Rod front headlock series, rolling out of those guillotines, surviving the DAS while C-Rod is fresh. I don't know. I just feel like there's no meat on this bone on this under 2.5 rounds. Like I feel like it might look like the Hakeem Dawodu fight where Arosa's potentially cracking him, hurting him, or he gets cracked to hurt himself, and they just have a bit of grappling in there, and he goes to a decision. For me, it's Arosa dog or pass, clear dog or pass. There was a little streak where I was scared to bet Arosa and he was winning, and then I came back on him and I played him against Ramos. KO against Darren Elkins. Now I feel like I'm scared to play him again because I think Costa is someone that can kill him, and Costa is not as flaky as Ramos and some of these other dudes. His losses are not aging well. Caceres and Fernando Padilla. So, but he's an underdog. So dog or pass, but it's just another one that's hard for me to get a read. It's a hard one for me to get a read. I feel like Costa's going to be faster than him early, and then just see how Arosa comes in there. Alrighty. Dogfather, Gab and under tempting. Yep, they're both tempting. My only issue is I had the under. This was when I used to bet a lot. Bet multiple things in the fight, most fights. I had Gabe Green. I live bet Gabe Green. I had so much money on Gabe Green inside the distance and the unders against Phil Rowe. And the guy just could not finish Phil Rowe. And that from then on out, I'm like, this guy is a bad finisher. So I'm still scarred from that. But, I just feel like I can't trust the guy. Subhuman, Arosa sub live feels late sub feels live. I agree with that. That's not too bad. Glimbot, Melk round 3 fight in 12 weeks is nuts. Oh, 3rd fight in 12 weeks. Yeah. He hasn't really taken much damage in the Philly fight. Arosa cardio is elite. Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll get a better line on Arosa live. All right. Even though he is the side. Alrighty. Nursultan Ruziboy versus Dustin Stalfords. So, a lot of people are saying it's Stalfords here. Didn't really see many people putting their money where their mouth is and actually laying hard-earned money on Dustin. But someone did, because a lot of money has come in on Stalfords, and Ruziboyev is almost minus 200. Honestly, everyone is just calling him a fraud because he lost to Yaquin Buckley. First of all, I don't think Rizzy should fight at welterweight. I think moving back to middleweight is the best thing he's done. So whatever. And Yaquin Buckley, he probably gave him the toughest fight. Buckley's out there finishing everyone. Yes, Buckley probably should have finished him in round 3 from that ground and pound, but the first 2 rounds, Buckley couldn't really separate. He had to wrestle. It was a competitive fight, right? He was winning, but it was competitive. So everyone else is finishing, right? This Bruno Ferreira fight where I lost my ass, it's aging well. It's aging quite well. This Eric Meconico, he didn't do anything. And just the first punch he landed, he knocked him out. So basically, if you don't throw anything at Rizzy, he's going to not throw anything either. He loves to counter strike. So Dustin, on the other hand, is so slow. I get it. He is a good wrestler. He's got some underrated power. He's an underrated fighter in general, Dustin. Is he UFC level? I'm going to say borderline. Like his wins over Puna and Dwight Grant and Marc-Andre Barriol, they all have a little bit of an asterisk to him. Like he's always a comeback and doing some weird meme stuff is happening. But yeah, I mean, I like the under 1.5 initially. And then after watching how low volume Rizzy is, I kind of jumped off. And then after going back to more Dustin tape and seeing just how quickly he slows down after 3 to 4 minutes of grappling and how hittable he becomes once again. Now I'm just kind of back on it. I think I'm overthinking it. I think Rizzy, inside the distance, most likely under 1.5 rounds is the play here again. So, I mean, the under 1.5 has probably improved because money's coming on Dustin. Yeah, a little bit. Still pick him. What's our Rizzy KO? That's not right. Rizzy KO. Yeah, it's disgusting. Has Rizzy ever knocked out anyone outside of 1.5 rounds? Cedric. He's also got some subs, which I don't know. I do not think he will sub Dustin. Slam, choke, Kimura. He's got a corner stoppage, 2019 in round 3. What's Rizzy sub just for cheeks? Just for cheeky little one. Rizzy sub. KO. Rizzy round 1, plus 120, maybe. Yeah, I think the under 1.5 is the best spot here. Honestly, it gives you a little half of round 2 as well if Dustin grapples him and potentially slows down and they start back on the feet again. All right, Sadiq Ysef versus Marlon Sandro. This line, it's going back and forth. This is another one of those ones like Lisboa, layoff for Sadiq. He's coming back off multiple injuries. He's moving up a weight class. Myron Santos is moving up a weight class. It's a big step up for him. I haven't really seen Santos fight or beat any strikers on the level of Ysef. Like his whole career is filled with grapplers. And some of those fights are quite close, right? He can be a little bit of low volume. He loves his calf kicks. He loves his jabs and to build into a fight. Obviously, quite easy to separate against grapplers with no striking. Ysef is chinny. I've always said that. I've loved fading Ysef, against Lopez, a bunch of others. He lost a round to Alex Caceres as well. But, he doesn't look too bad at lightweight. He looks solid. He doesn't look fat. He looks ripped still. Yeah, it's just a weird fight, man. Like, I don't know how much value I'm getting on Santos at minus money. Like, is he going to separate? Sadiq comes on strong early. He's a tank. He can grapple. He has underrated grappling and wrestling. He's a Lloyd Irvin black belt. Whoever he wanted to grapple, he did well. My only issue, he slows down a bit. So, I don't know, man. I haven't really gone in depth because the line keeps going back, jumping up and down, and I keep taping fights on each side, and it's not giving me a better read. So it's like I left it on the back burner. I left it on the back burner. The under is massive numbers, and everyone's talking about it, but it's not really taking too much action. Under 2.5 rounds, it's still plus 170 at worst, $2.70. So if anyone's going to do it, I feel like Marlon Santos will KO him. So that's where we're at. FIFA Gaming got tiny bit on Dustin Stolf's decision. Yeah, if it's going to happen, it will probably be that. But man, by round 3, Dustin's going to be so slow. Got off Santos. Sadiq KO 1 is insane. Dogfather, why? What's made you change your mind? I know a lot of people, including yourself, were really high on Santos early in the week, and I was too. But after tape, it just kind of put me off. Is the under 2.5 a better play here than Sadiq? Yeah, that's the thing. It's a much bigger number. But I don't know about better because, Santos neither has many, like, Santos seems quite durable, but there's not many high-level strikers in his tape. That's the issue. Alrighty. Let's move on. Who knows? By the end of the day, I might get on both. I might get on Santos and I might get on the under. All right, this fight right here. Rodolfo Bellato versus Craig. So this is an interesting fight. What to make of it? Personally, I'm leaning Craig will pass, honestly. And I don't think Craig hits hard enough to take advantage of Bellato's chin and striking defense. I think Craig is chinny, but I don't know if Bellato is that much of a dangerous finisher. I think most of Bellato's finishes come via sub or ground and pound or attritional striking. His last 2 KOs, over 1.5 over Pateria and Tala. Tala was injured. He was a middleweight. And so basically how I see this fight is maybe some back and forth grappling, maybe some back and forth takedowns, some knockdowns. I think Bellato might be on top of Craig for a bit. I think both their strengths are submission, offense and defense, and therefore I think both these guys survive. I think maybe if he gets over 1.5 rounds, which is my lean, it could go the whole way, or Rodolfo Bellato could, submit him later on, pound him out later on in the fight. So, yeah, I'll lean the over 1.5 rounds here. Let me see what it's at now. I didn't go in depth. I just taped the Jimmy Crute fight. And honestly, Bellato had some really good butterfly sweeps. He wasn't really letting Crute settle. I think Crute is much better on top than Paul Craig. I mean, Crute mauled Paul Craig as well in their fight on top and submitted him. So, and he had a big overhand right from Crute on the temple and survived. So I think you have to kill, as chinny as he is, you have to kill Bellato. I don't think Craig is going to do it. So the over 1.5 rounds it's still improving. It's going to plus money. I actually don't mind start round 2. That could be a play as well. It's pick'em on Neds. So that's where I'm at. Dogfather, Sadiq is good and can wrestle, cracks big early, like under, and seeing Marlon rocked by Mexican wrestler on Dana White Contender Series. Marion rocked by wrestler on Dana White Contender Series? I think you mean tough, but I'll look into it. Could this be a sloppy light heavyweight over? Yes, that's how I'm feeling. Took some Bellato decision, go the distance. Yep, that's how I'm feeling. Yep, I think we're all on the same page here. It's going to be sweaty because, Bellato's going to crack him. Maybe Craig's going to crack him. In almost every single fight, Paul Craig is wobbling. Brandon Allen almost got him out of there twice. But he survived. He survived to almost, over 2.5 rounds. And I do think Brandon Allen is a lot more dangerous on the feet and on the ground. Alrighty, and now we're at the pinnacle of MMA. Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales. I didn't go too much in depth on this. Oh, well, other than the fact that I taped every single Michael Morales fight, including his Contender Series fight. And I didn't get much, strong reads out of it. I think he's a little bit green still, but he's improving, in my opinion, drastically from fight to fight. I think he's so athletic that everything comes off so nonchalant. Like, he's not putting much effort into his punches. He's not putting much effort into his defense. I think the sky's the limit for this kid. I think he's really composed for his age level. I do think, that the line is a bit disrespectful, but it just comes down to, Gilbert Burns, 3-fight losing streak. And the noise is, he's losing to high-level guys, but he's still losing. And, his wins are not high-level either. Neil Magny washed George Masvidal, washed Tyron Woodley, washed Damian Maia. So you can say his losses are bad, but his wins are also bad. So yeah, I played an early under 3.5 rounds when odds released on Bet Online. For once, I made a good play. That's the only total that really took massive steam. Now it's minus money. I have $2.40 something, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's not even a unit. It's to win a unit, and that's fine. If it goes over, it's probably Gilbert Burns. Just kind of wrestling Michael Morales, and maybe Morales is too scared to throw, and he can't land anything clean. But don't overthink it. A washed fighter, 38 years of age, always been chinny. They're giving him this 25-year-old athletic freak. How many years have we watched MMA? Morales should knock him out, but it's not a smash spot for me. I know my tall, bald friend, Dogfather, has played Morales inside the distance at a worse line, which gives him 5 rounds, so he's more confident than me. But yeah, I played that under. Gives Burns a little bit of finish upside. Alrighty. FIFA Gaming could be very sweaty, but I think Craig is not going to start like a lunatic. Yeah, well, this is another thing by Craig. Craig said he shows up when his back is against the wall. So if we remember, last time he was about to lose a fight and be cut from the UFC, it was Ankalaev. Right, he won with the last second to go. I lost my ass there. I bet Ankalaev. And he still took Ankalaev down multiple times. His wrestling was a lot worse back then than it is now. So he knows his back is against the wall again. He knows he's going to lose his job potentially. And he likes it. He feels comfortable as a big underdog. So, yeah, mentally, Paul Craig's going to fight for your money. And Bato is a lot worse than, a lot of the fighters that Paul Craig has lost to. Lucky Tim, I think this is going over 3.5 rounds. Why is that, Lucky Tim? Let me know. I mean, I get the feeling too, but, I think Michael Morales is the type of guy that carries his power late, the Fugit fight, no moments, and then just knocks him out. And just a bunch of these other fights, he hurt Max Griffin as well. He just kind of explodes out of nowhere, so it could just be him exploding, killing Burns, but yeah, just not overthinking it, whatever. No strong takes anyway. So, Luana Pinheiro, dog or pass. Right. I'm not really feeling the minus 3.5 handicap because I could see a finish or 30-27 for Tisha. But Luana or pass, maybe a lie bet on Tisha. Park or pass, I guess. Hernandez decision if you had to play something. Hernandez split, potentially. Park lie bet. Gomez inside the distance. Santos or Lisboa. I don't know. I'm leaning Lisboa, but who knows. Matthews, Del Valle. I'll poke a little bit on Del Valle submission, $5, but I could see a KO. I could even see a decision. Jared Gordon, Moyes. I'm honestly leaning Moyes now. Camilo Green, under. Potential Gabe Green live bet. Costa, Arosa. I'm leaning Arosa. Potential live bet. Riziboyev, I'm still leaning the under 1.5. I should probably play it. Ysef, Santos. Tough fight to get a read on. Paul Craig, Bato. I'm honestly leaning Craig, but over 1.5 rounds. And I have the under in Michael Morales. Plus money, you can't get it anymore, but it is what it is. That's it. I do have one play on Octagon, Aksu, the Turkish dude against the Serbian bum. He should finish him or win the minutes enough. The Serbian guy is very bad, but he has a grappling upside, so I would not play it at this price. Other than that, that's it. I'm going to keep on grinding, try to find someone Brave FC. And yeah, that's it. Peace out, like and subscribe. Thank you, Glimbot. FIFA Gaming, why is it not in the final bets? Because it's not plus 140 anymore, my friend. It's not plus 140, it's minus money, that's why. Alrighty.